the waste management sector, my KCIC colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Good morning once more. Good. My role today morning is very easy. Basically just to say welcome, so karibu sana. But as I say karibu, let me also say a few things, just so that then we can set the scene and know why we're here today. At KCIC, we are driven by a vision where climate change is not just a challenge. We know most people look at it that way, but we look at climate change as an opportunity. We've been around now for about 11 years. Our journey began in 2012 with a commitment to support innovative climate solutions. Since then, we've supported many, and we've been relentless at this endeavor. 11 years down the line, we've supported about 3,500 enterprises, and we happily report that we have had a success rate or a commercialization rate of about 67%. Many of you who work in the SME sector or work with startups will understand that that's probably about 3 times the national average. With a commercialization rate of about 67% and having supported about 3,500 enterprises, I think we can safely say that there are over 2,000 enterprises operating within the country that began as ideas within KCIC, as it were. Those enterprises have been able to leverage or mobilize over $83 million and generated revenues in excess of $80 million. Because we are a climate innovation center, we also track the amount of carbon removed or avoided from the atmosphere, because that's how you assess climate impact. Over the 11 years of our existence, we've been able to avoid about 470,000 metric tons of CO2. We also work for an enabling environment, because all this will never work unless the enabling environment works. And over the 11 years, we have supported both the national government and the county government to do about 73 policy initiatives. And our enterprises have been able to reach over 800,000 customers. And importantly for climate, over 85,000 people are now receiving clean and safe drinking water because of what KCIC has been able to do. We, as an organization that supports innovations around the climate space, we undertake a lot of research, and through that research, we then design our programs. So when we looked at the research in the last couple of years, we saw that there's a lot of opportunity in the waste management space. And therefore, from today, we are embarking on a new journey where we not only support enterprises in the traditional sectors that people have been supporting, but we embark on a journey where we take now a bold step to support enterprises within the waste management sector. Probably at this juncture, allow me to recognize the IKEA Foundation, which has generously funded this program. And the IKEA Foundation is represented today by Mr. Patrick Obonyo, who's here. He'll be speaking later on. So through this program, we aim to support about 110 enterprises, and these 110 enterprises will be countrywide. So just about every county within this country will be represented, because we are a Kenyan organization, as it were. We will support them across the 5 areas that we work on as KCIC. We'll provide support along business advisory. We'll provide technical assistance. We will provide mentorship. And we will provide financing just to unlock potential and value within this sector. However, we know that unless we work for an enabling environment, these enterprises will not succeed. And therefore, our vision extends beyond just supporting these enterprises. We are committed to working hand in hand with the policymakers, many of whom are already in this room, to ensure that the waste management value chain is strengthened and that there are proper waste management policies and regulations. The idea is very simple. Create an enabling environment, make these enterprises thrive, and support us in addressing the twin development challenges that we have in this world, and that is climate change and jobs. So ladies and gentlemen, the launch of the SWIFT program today underscores our belief that climate change represents an opportunity for innovation and economic growth. We know where the world is in terms of that. And so by investing in sustainable waste management practices, we are not only safeguarding the environment, but also creating pathways for job creation, economic development, and social inclusion. As we continue on this journey, it's important that we remain committed to the ideals of inclusivity and equity. And therefore, we'll be working with everybody, including people living with disabilities, including women and the youth, including the men. Basically, everybody. We will be as inclusive as possible. That is the commitment we make as KCIC. We will ensure that the benefits of this program reach every segment of society, be they the marginalized communities or the vulnerable communities, and that the benefits of this program support the building of a just and equitable society. I will therefore reiterate what I've been saying all along, that this is an opportunity, and I urge everybody in this room and through your networks to expose this opportunity to everybody so that then they can take advantage of it. Again, as I conclude, let me again pass my gratitude to you, to our partners, many who are in this room, to the government, to the policymakers, to our funders led by CARE, and everybody else who has made the SWIFT program possible. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Joseph, for those remarks. Now I want to invite Jabez, who is a program manager at Kenya Climate Innovation Center. He will give us a brief presentation about the program, just in terms of what it is, what we expect to achieve through the program, and also share some information about the call for application that is open, that we'll also want you as stakeholders to share with the wider audience so that we are able to attract as many entrepreneurs as possible. So, Jabez, welcome. Okay, thank you. So, Felix.
So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, this morning. My name is Felix Mwaki, Director in charge of Programs and Investments. And we are happy this morning to have our peers this morning, and also our partners who have graced this launch of the SWIFT program. I just want to briefly just take you through a few aspects of this program that you're launching this morning. Somebody this morning told me that 15, 20 years ago, climate change was looked at, from the lens of the lens of the energy sector. But now, waste management has become a very, critical cog in that wheel. So briefly, I just want to just give you a brief of this program, so that. Okay, thanks. So just if you can be able to look at perhaps the screens. SWIFT program is a 3-year program funded by CARE Foundation, represented here by our friend Patrick. The program is funded to the tune of $5.1 million, which is close to 780 million Kenya shillings. The program will support both, 2 cohorts in terms of incubation and also the acceleration cohort. And the whole program is for 3 years, so every cohort will take around 18 months. So once we do the call for applications, we should be able to support enterprises for 18 months. In terms of target beneficiaries, those 2 cohorts each will be having 55 enterprises. That means we'll be able to support for the 3 years 110 enterprises. In terms of incubation, of course, we realize that this is where we'll be able to have the bulk of enterprises, and so we'll be able to do 80 SMEs, and then in terms of acceleration, we'll support around 30 SMEs. The first call for applications is running on, is coming to an end on 29th. In terms of the expected outcomes, we aim to create around 6,000 jobs, 2,000 direct and 4,000 indirect. In terms of revenues, we'll support those companies to create more than $10 million. And then we'll support 5 counties who are represented here by various CECs and chief officers to be able to create an enabling environment in terms of policy enactment. In terms of money that will support those companies to be able to outsource from third parties, we'll be able to do $10 million. And in terms of the tons of aggregated waste, it's around 3 metric tons of waste. Next. Now, someone may ask, when you talk about waste management, what are you talking about? What is in our minds? So we are talking about aggregation and separation all the way to people who are processing waste. And of course, we are talking about solid waste. So anybody who is aggregating, someone who is reusing, who is repurposing, who is reducing, waste generation at the households and also at the industrial level, and all that, waste management chain. So anybody across that value chain is we are anticipating to be able to incubate and support them to be able to scale their business enterprises sustainably. Next. Now, someone may ask in terms of how is our business incubation model or our acceleration model, how does it look like under the SWIFT program? Now, under the incubation program, we are looking at businesses that are legally registered. So every company that is sending in the applications, it must be a legally registered entity in the country. The program is domiciled within Kenya. Then the business must be operating within the waste management sector, as I've just showed you in the previous slide. We are talking about they must be able to be keeping books of account for us to be able to bring them on board. They must be operational for 2 years, at least 2 years. And then they must have a working prototype. We have had a lot of trouble supporting ideation companies in the country. It has not been an easy thing. But we have decided that under this waste management program, we want to work with the companies that have 2 years. They have been in operation for the last 2 years. These companies, they must have, either they are adaptive or they are perhaps in the mitigative aspect, they must be able to provide that. They must have revenues of more than $10,000 to $30,000. That's under incubation. And then the business must be able to employ at least 5 people, either directly or indirectly. We should be able to demonstrate that. And finally, under incubation, there must be approval market, for at least 5 existing customers who are taking your product. Then under the accelerator, guys, that is the 30 companies will be accelerating under the program for 3 years. The criteria will be, you must be legally registered in the country. You must be operating, of course, within the waste management sector. You must be in operation for at least the last 4 years. You must have a working prototype. The accelerator guys must actually have some form of traction. They must be selling. These guys must be able to have 2 years of certified books of account. They must, of course, be in the mitigation. Whatever they are selling must be mitigative or perhaps adaptive to the environment. They must be having not less of $1,000 in terms of annual revenues. And then the number of employees is ranging between 5 and 20. And finally, they must be able to prove, a market for what they are selling. So essentially, that is what the SWIFT program will be looking at in terms of incubating or accelerating business enterprises for the next 3 years. Now, in terms of our service provision, what are we promising the enterprises that will be incubated and accelerated? Well, we're looking at the 5 key service pillars for KCAC. One is about providing business advisory support for these enterprises, and that talks about looking at these enterprises from business model, looking at their legal structure, supporting them to be able to look at their marketing, their books, and everything that we can be able to do under the business advisory angle. The second thing is about technical assistance. When you look at most incubation enterprises, a number of them, even if they have been registered, most of them do not have websites. They need they need some support to be able to keep their records well. They need trainings which are aligned to the sector that they are operating in. So everything about technical assistance will be able to pay for it and support these companies to sustainably be able to operate their businesses. Next is about mentorship and coaching. We have realized in KCAC that one of the most key aspects of supporting businesses is supporting them with mentorship and coaching. And the reason as to why we have come to that point of agreeing to that is because the last 12 years, we have realized immense benefits when companies are supported by someone perhaps who has been in that sector for more than 10, 15 years. They are able to offer some kind of market insights. They are able to offer some kind of support that perhaps the normal business advisory may not be able to offer. Under the access to finance pillar, we are promising to support companies either under what we call POC, that is proof of concept financing, or we are also supporting them with what we call matching grants, which is a low cost kind of financing at around 6%. But also much more important, we will be supporting companies through what we call third-party financing. So our teams on the ground will be able to support our companies to be able to scan the environment, look at financing opportunities that are aligned to these enterprises, and ensure that we have supported them to be able to secure those financing to scale their businesses. Number 5 is enabling environment. Now, I know this is a big animal in the room. Why? Because policy environment has always been associated with both the national government and the county government. We'll be glad that we'll be working with NEMA. We'll be working with other, CRIDI. We'll be working with other government entities. But also in the room, there are some 5 counties that we have, selected. That is Mombasa, Nairobi, Nakuru, Eldoret, and Kisumu. And we want to support them to be able to enact legislation that can be able to support, these enterprises to grow within those localities. So in terms of the 5 pillars of services, those are the 5 key things that we are promising those 110 enterprises to be able to carry out that pilot in the next 3 years and ensure that those 110 enterprises, they have been able to scale their businesses, they have been able to increase their revenues, they have been able to employ more people. Now, the call for action is this morning. As we launch this program, we have the call for application that is going on as of now. And we are looking forward to getting as many enterprises as possible. We'll be able to screen them, and our hope is that within the month of March, we should be able to onboard the first cohort of 55 enterprises. So ladies and gentlemen, then we should be able to onboard them and start providing those services that I've just mentioned. Ladies and gentlemen, that is just a brief of what the SWIFT program entails. And with those few remarks, I say karibu and spread the one to as many enterprises, potential enterprises as we can. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Felix, for taking us through. So we have quite a number of KCIC staff in the room. So in case you need more information, further clarification, kindly reach out to them, and we should be able to provide more details about the program. So as mentioned earlier, this program has been supported by IKEA Foundation, and whose vision is to create a better everyday life for many people. So, and I can see many people in this particular room. So I want to take this opportunity to invite Patrick Obonyo, who is the program manager at IKEA, to share with us some brief remarks. Welcome, Patrick.
Thank you so much, Ernest, Joseph, Bona PSS, board members, ladies and gentlemen. It's really a great pleasure to be here today and to be home and to be at the launch of this event. I am honored to represent the IKEA Foundation at this function. And at IKEA Foundation, we work to create a better life for everybody, but also to protect the planet. We are tackling two of the most critical challenges facing the world today, which is poverty and climate change. And we do believe that these two have to be tackled hand in hand rather than separately. So that's really critical to how we see the world and how we want to help accelerate progress in the world today. One of the ways in which we want to do this is by supporting enterprises in the waste management sector to help reduce the amount of waste in the environment, but also to create decent and dignified jobs for young people, for women, and for the many waste workers that work in quite challenging situations. I had the amazing opportunity to visit Dandora Waste Dump Site last year in October, and I could see firsthand the challenges that our fellow Kenyans face to manage the waste that we put into the environment. And you can easily be overwhelmed by the mountain of waste that covers 30 acres of very prime land in the middle of the city. But during that visit, I also met amazing entrepreneurs, amazing people. I met this lady who I will call Agneta because she didn't want to be mentioned here. She started working as a waste worker 20 years ago in the waste dump site. And she has worked hard to build a waste collection and sorting business that employs more than 500 waste workers. I met an enterprise like Takataka Solutions, one of the leading plastic waste recycling companies in the country, that is managing 90 tons of plastic waste a day and is employing around 700 people, giving them credible income and opportunities to support their families. So why am I sharing these stories? One, of course, because not all of us have been able to visit Dandora. That's one. But most importantly, there are three things why I think sharing this story is important. One, as a country, we continue to generate huge amounts of waste. You know, currently, the 5 major cities of Mombasa, Nairobi, Kisumu, Eldoret, Nakuru generate over 6,000 tons of waste daily. But these countries also constitute 35% of the Kenyan population, and this population is only going to increase. And as that population increases, the amount of waste that's going to be generated is only going to go up. So that means that we are going to have more dump sites around the country. The second reason why I'm sharing this is that I read a recent study that was looking at the trends and opportunities for green entrepreneurship in Kenya. And it was published by the Aspen Network for Development Entrepreneurs. And that study found that the waste management and circular economy in Kenya is worth $54 billion in the next 5 years. So you can look at it from two ways. You can look at it as we have a huge challenge that we need to address, but you can look at it as that challenge is worth $54 billion. And this offers a huge potential for entrepreneurs and businesses to develop circular waste management solutions that provide sustainable employment, like the two companies that I've just shared with you, but which is also good for our people and good for the planet. So choose which side of the coin you want to look at this. And the third reason why I'm sharing this is because as I talked with a number of these enterprises, and I've visited many, I've just mentioned two, most of them struggle with the lack of technical expertise. Most of them struggle with lack of financing. And they also struggle with, they also require an enabling environment to thrive. So we have a challenge, we have an opportunity, and we have some barriers to solve. And I know, having read and having heard the PSS talking right now, that the government is making huge efforts to ensure that this increasing amount of waste is sustainably managed, is recycled, and safely disposed. And our partnership with the Kenya Climate Innovation Center seeks to complement these efforts. We know that there's a strategy. We know that the government has something that's working on. And our work is to complement these efforts and accelerate the progress within this time. And through our support to the Kenya Climate Innovation Center, as Joseph has mentioned, we'll seek to support 100 innovative circular waste management solutions and work with five counties in Kenya to adopt circular and sustainable waste management policies that align with a number of the national policies and the national strategy that the government has. And some of those policies are the Extended Producer Responsibility Act, the Sustainable Waste Management Act, among many other strategies that the government has. And that's the only way we think we can be able to accelerate the progress. As a foundation, we are really proud to work with Kenya Climate Innovation Center to create green jobs that enable people in Kenya to afford a better life for themselves, for their families, but also to protect the planet in a very meaningful way. Because we know that waste and the waste dump sites contribute 20% of methane emissions. So if you're serious about reducing emissions, then tackling waste is an important way of addressing that. But we also want to move into circular economy that allows people to live healthier lives, that allows people to create meaningful employment, but that also protects the planet. However, we also know that as a foundation and only KCIC, we cannot be able to solve the problem alone. But we believe that the opportunity here is for everyone to be able to do something. And you can sit and complain how the city is dirty, how everything is disorganized, how the city is smelly, or how your environment is smelly, or you can decide to take action. And as an individual, we all know the importance of keeping our environment clean. We sweep our houses, we try to keep our neighborhoods clean, And we also know that we need to keep our towns and cities clean. So there's a lot that we can do to ensure that we have proper collection and disposal of waste without littering the environment. So at every individual level, we have a role to play. And you start by looking at yourself and looking at your house and looking at how you are managing waste in your own way. And there are small steps that we can do. And those small steps cumulatively create a big impact. I know we have development partners like the Care Foundation. We have foreign governments and donors. What we are starting with KCIC is a simple drop, but there's an opportunity here for other donors to come in and to leverage the resources that we are putting here, leverage the outstanding opportunity that KCIC has started, and leverage the support that the government has to ensure that we accelerate progress and to ensure that our country transitions to a circular economy. We have policymakers in the room, and I'm proud to hear the beautiful conversations around creating an enabling policy environment. I think KCIC is offering an unmissable opportunity to work with policymakers to strengthen existing policies, but also to develop innovative solutions. And I can only hope that you won't miss out as policymakers. Last but not least, we have entrepreneurs who are either listening today or in attendance. You have a chance to achieve your dreams if you're an entrepreneur. And Felix has greatly highlighted that opportunity. I hope you don't throw your dreams away like waste. Last but not least, I want to say that as a foundation, we want to join hands to create better lives and protect the planet. And here is the opportunity. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Patrick, for those remarks and for the encouragement. I now want to invite Professor Isael Da Silva, who is the board chair of Kenya Climate Innovation Center, to just greet you so that at least you know we have a board. We don't operate in a vacuum. Then we'll also invite now our chief guest to speak. Thank you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. So I am, as he says, the chairman of the board of directors of KCIC. And I feel very proud in a day like today because KCIC is like our baby. Yeah? We were, when the World Bank, supported by the NIDA and the UK, asked us, say, why don't you create this thing called KCIC? We were for a liability partners, those who put their face to defend it and to make it grow. It was PwC, GVEP, KIRD, and Strathmore. And so it was a concept. It's like a baby. So our job was to get that baby to become an adult, to be 18, to have a solicitor, to have a banking agent, and be able to transact business, isn't it? Get married, even to the wrong tribe, because so that was KCIC 1.0. We had 2.0. We have 3.0, and it went towards that. So today I am grateful to God, and I am proud to tell you that, please, go and see what Kenya Climate Innovation Center has done to people. I have one thing that I would, once I speak it, I would like you make use of it, no royalties, is that I study of something called NATO. NATO, as all of us know, is North Atlantic Treaty Organization, isn't it? Yes, but in my case today, in these few words I'll be telling you, is called no action, talk only. There are so many people who are part of NATO, you can't believe, you know. So, oh yes, I will send it to you tomorrow. Oh, yeah. Now, come, Chairman, I want this document on my desk on Monday, you know. And that's Quisha, isn't it? You don't hear from them any longer. Anyway, yeah, so you can, if you have NATO around yourself, you know, please try to sort them out, or then you can create an island of sanity around yourself and don't deal with NATO. You can drink beer with him or her, you can celebrate, but don't work with them, because they make you derail. Okay, as an old man, I like telling stories, and then I'll tell you 2 stories and I go away. The first story is from Brazil. Brazil is the most beautiful country in the world. I don't know if you knew that, yeah? Yes, I was born there, yeah. So, yes, in 1973 there was the crisis of oil. You know, OPEC, everybody got hit, including Brazil. Brazil said, what do? Petroleum is becoming so expensive, so industry, etc. So what they did, they created a program called Education Without Borders. Educação Sem Fronteiras. Now, they got some 2,000 very sharp Brazilians there and send them out. Go and learn 3 things. Petroleum exploration. You dig our own petroleum, isn't it? Instead of having recourse to the current owners of petroleum in the planet. Then, second, say, go and also study agribusiness. You know, agribusiness is so exciting. Yeah? If you want to die slowly but surely, go and do farming. But if you begin agribusiness, you may become one of the richest people in this country, in this region. Yeah? So, agribusiness. And the third one was aeronautic engineering. The GDP per capita of Brazil was $400. Can you imagine? Today is the 10th economy in the planet, 10th, 9th, like that. So when those people came back, they said, government, private sector, and academia, let's get together. They created Embraer, a company that makes jets. Kenya Power has some 10 of them. You know the Embraer, isn't it? Embraer 190, 195. Yes. Of course, KLM has more than 100 of those little birds. And so it is amazing what we are doing, you see, because of that pressure. Then, petroleum also, no? Subwater, sub-ice, serving everybody, including the United States, yes. Became like the NASA of petroleum exploration. And agribusiness, I don't need to tell you, you know, sugarcane, ethanol, soybean, juice, orange juice, etc. So what we are experiencing here today, you see, is this, that we are having something that is called rubbish, but we pick it and we put some technology on it, and it works for us. And as the speaker who spoke just now a few minutes before was telling, that it cleans the cities. No, everything is beautiful. I can guarantee you that if you want to see something like that, or arrange for a trip to Rio de Janeiro, very beautiful, and then go and see what they do with the rubbish in Rio. They have huge, beautiful trucks that collect it, take to the place where they make the methane, and then when they get there, they are fueled by methane. If you go to a petrol station in Brazil, anyone, you find diesel, you find gasoline like here. But then you also find methane, and you also find ethanol, which was, half of the price of the petrol. So this is small story I tell you is that I think we are leading this region here. Kenya leads the East African region, and you have the power to transform this place into not only middle income country, which we are getting there, but to be able to have a GDP, say, 10 times more than we have here. Thank you. I wanted you to talk more, but Ernest told me stop. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Professor Israel. Professor is a man of many stories. So if you give him a mic, you need to give him at least 2 hours. And he'll have only told you maybe at most 3 stories. So thank you, Professor. Now I want to invite Mamo Buro, Director General for NEMA, who will then invite our key speaker, Engineer Ngeno.
Thank you so much, our chief guest, Engineer Festus Ngeno, distinguished West generators, good morning. We are all West generators, right? That is why we are here to find solution for our problem. We created the problem, but we need someone else to address this issue. And I want to thank KCIC for this initiative to launch this important program. I work for NEMA, National Environment Management Authority, but many people call us NEMA, which is grace. We need grace to look after Kenyans' environment, because everyone wants to litter the environment, but wants someone else to pick the waste. As I was coming in, I saw many people littering, throwing away some pieces of papers, and we are here to discuss about waste management. I want to speak as a regulator before I invite my principal secretary. As a regulator, our mandate is basically to supervise and coordinate environmental issues in our country, and we are also the principal instrument of government in the implementation of environmental policy in our country. When you are told you are in charge of all matters environment, just think all matters environment. And what is environment? For more basic class 4 science, what is environment? Yeah? God's creation, right? Everything. It's a divine duty because you're looking after the God's creation. Divine responsibility. But looking at Kenyans and their attitudes towards environment, we require divine intervention. Amen? We require divine intervention. Look at what, as a country, we've done in terms of coming up with the relevant policies, legislations, strategies, and the legal framework. Starting all the way from 1999, when we came up with an environmental framework law, the only one that, at that time in the region, EMCA, Environmental Management and Coordination Act, that holistically looked at environmental issues in our country. Because before 1999, environmental issues were scattered in 77 to 78 statutes in our laws. But we brought all that under one umbrella and we call it EMCA, so that we address environmental issues holistically. EMCA had the provision of granting Kenyans a right to live in a clean, healthy, and secure environment. But most of the time, Kenyans, being Kenyans, we like haki yetu, our right to live in a clean environment, then you forget that it's your jukumu, your responsibility, duty to enhance the quality of the environment. You will say, this is my environment, but you don't want to take responsibility. Under MCA Act, also for the first time, there was the inclusion of the locus standi, the legal right to take anyone to court. Before 1999, we never had the locus standi, the legal right to take anyone to court. And remember the story of the late Professor Wangari Maathai, when she took the then Kenya government to court for attempting to build 60-story building at the heart of Uhuru Park. When she went to court, she was told she does not have the locus standi, the legal right. At that time, it was vested in the office of the Attorney General. Now, with the enactment of the MCA Act, we have the locus standi to take anyone to court, including NEMA. And Kenyans being very litigious, I have 104 cases in court as we speak. After MCA, we developed subsidiary legislations. In 2009, I remember we participated in coming up with the Waste Management Regulation 2009, telling Kenyans you need to manage your waste at the point of generation, at the household level. But that became also very difficult, because when you tell someone to segregate the waste, the other priorities that he needed to look into. Then 2015, we developed sustainable national waste management policy that looked at waste generation from the household level, transportation, because NEMA needed to license the transporters, all the way to the dumping sites. We still call it dumping sites. We do not have landfills in our country. And we gave counties 10 minimum points in 2015 so that they'll be able to manage waste at the household level, transportation, and disposal, so that what gets into the disposal sites are also managed. If you can segregate the waste, or rather separate them, then you'll be able to manage it properly. Then we gazetted over 100 environmental inspectors for the counties to look at the devolved environmental functions of noise and waste management. We also built the capacity of the inspectors through basic enforcement training, capacity building for basic enforcement training. Then from MCA regulations and strategies, we came to our constitution, very progressive constitution. Most people call it green constitution. If you look at from the preamble, the fourth preamble of our constitution talks about our environment being our heritage, priceless heritage that must be conserved for now and future generation. Then down to Article 42 of our constitution, which borrowed heavily from the MCA, that gives us a right to live in a clean, healthy, and secure environment, but the right came with duty, responsibility for each and every citizen to enhance the quality of the environment. Then 69, your obligation to support the state officers and also the issue of public participation. Then 70, if you are aggrieved, you can seek redress in a court of law. And now we have environment and land court, fortunately. I said we have 104 cases currently in court. Then we enacted in 2022 the Sustainable Waste Management that essentially would have transitioned us from linear waste management, that the model we are currently on, take, consume, and dispose, to circular model of waste management where you need to get value out of the waste and ensure that the value is extracted properly from the waste. Then the issue of extended producer responsibility. We give responsibility to the producers under EPR regulation. But we are likely to come up with what we call the ECR now. After the producers, we need to have extended consumer responsibility, because you also have a responsibility to ensure you manage your waste, because waste is everyone's responsibility. It's not government responsibility, not private sector responsibility. Each and every one of us has a responsibility to take care of the waste and ensure that we stop littering our environment and throw away attitude, because all of us wants to throw things out and then complain later that our environment is dirty and put it in social media that NEMA is not picking the waste when you are the waste generator. So the message is, this is our environment, it's our life and our responsibility, individual and collective responsibility, so that we can have a clean, healthy, and secure environment for all. Let's walk the talk. I've attended because I joined NEMA in 2004, I've attended over hundreds of these waste management meetings. Every day we talk about waste management. It's high time we look at the root cause before we talk of solutions. How do we address this? Because as you generate the waste, manage your waste. I've seen counties coming up with waste receptacles, branded waste segregation bins. Kenyans, instead of dropping in there, you'll drop down there. Very basic things. You are given all this branded, this is green, blue, segregate your waste very well, black. But fellows will not drop in, they'll drop it down there. Then say NEMA must work. Yes, we will work, but we will work together. Asanteni sana. And now it's my humble duty to invite my principal secretary, Engineer Festus Ngeno. Karibu sana, boss. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I want on the onset to associate myself with all the sentiments that the DG has mentioned. He's done a fantastic job in terms of enumerating where we are. Let's give a round of applause for setting the stage. And thank you, CEO, for inviting me to grace this occasion, and the teams that have spoken before me, IKEA and the chairman. Thank you for the good story. I agree, Brazil is nice. Two things before I read what the technical team put for me here. Yeah, you know, there are guys who write for you things. So let me say mine, which is important. I was just looking at our Kenya Kwanza plan, the bottom-up economic transformational plan, under environment and climate change chapter, and there is a section on solid waste. You saw me really pushing the CEO, telling whatever you are putting here is what is on the plan. It says that 73% of all plastics waste generated is uncollected, and over 27% uncollected, and only 8% is recycled. And the Kenya Kwanza commitment is that we complement EPR, what DG has mentioned, with a bottom-up community based on value chains. And this is exactly why, as a government, we support this program. I just want to pick from where DG has mentioned, before I make my comment, read my speech, that we appreciate you. We call ourselves the waste generators. So he talked about MCA 1999. And he stopped it. I think it was intentional. He brought us to where we are today, so that I pick from there. We are making a very, very big deliberate move as a government to review MCA. And as we speak, we have a team that are overhauling the Environment Management and Coordination Act of 1999 a decade later, 25 years later. And all the things that he has mentioned are going to be fully captured, including the Solid Waste Management Act of 2022. So there are things that we will bring you on board and it is a critical conversation, and especially in light of what has been happening within the country. Article 42 is our responsibility, a right to clean environment, and it is sanctity. It's about the responsibility and the jurisdictions that we need to work on to be able to deliver on that mandate. So we are going to make EMCA an overhacking law under the environment and natural resources sector, which was how it was supposed to be created. And I will give you a classic example, and this is on the recent cases of our Embakasi explosion, and may the people who lost their life rest in peace. It's an unfortunate circumstance, but the responsibility that comes with us as government rests within the National Environment Management Authority. There are quite a number of other actors, but we have said then for us to be able to mitigate and to be able to protect the lives of Kenyans as enshrined under the Constitution, we must be able to do the processes as it were. And therefore, then that is going to be a conversation between now and the next 3 months. We will be very busy. I know you will be brought on board, especially the guys that are on the solid waste or waste management cycle, to see how then that coordination happens. I know we've been asking ourselves where are the EPR regulations, the extended producer responsibility regulations, which have always been under conversation. IMAP is put in. We are also going to have the extended consumer regulations coming on board. Everyone must carry their own responsibility. We can only be saying, if you are buying from wherever, Carrefour or Carrefour or Carrefour, whatever you call it, that they are supposed, that is what it means. They are supposed to go and collect back their waste from the dump site and deal with it. But you are the person who went and put it there. So also you must take responsibility, and that is going to be how we are going to support, especially as we organize the teams to be on cooperatives and other sectors. So for those who don't know me, Engineer Festus Ngeno is my name, the Principal Secretary in charge of Environment and Climate Change. And allow me to make just a few remarks. I'm required to be in Naivasha at 10 a.m. to open another meeting of such kind. So we'll see how we'll get there. So distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure and great honor to join you today at the official launch of the Sustainable Waste Information for a Future Transition, the SWIFT program, on behalf of the State Department of Environment and Climate Change, and receive greetings from my Cabinet Secretary, Honorable Soipantuye, who was supposed to have been here, but she's engaged on other assignments, and that is why I have been sent to open this meeting. I want to extend my warmest congratulations to the Kenya Climate Innovation Center for their unwavering commitment to climate action and sustainable development. And indeed, the SWIFT program represents a significant milestone in our collective efforts to address the pressing challenges of waste management in Kenya. And I'm happy, as I was scanning through the room, that the county governments are well represented, especially the innovations that we have within ourselves. And that is where we are. Our role as government, national government, is to provide policy, strategy, direction, and it is for counties to implement as part of their default functions. With estimates showing that of a country generates between 3,000 to 4,000 tons of waste per day, the need for innovative solutions has never been more urgent. And therefore, the SWIFT program approach of targeting small and medium enterprises through business advisory services, technical assistance, mentorship, and access to finance will foster innovative business models that will accelerate the transition to a circular economy and drive inclusive green economic growth. And I know my PS colleague in charge of MSME is coming, and we have had this conversation that even as we put this, the bottom-up teams, the medium to small scale enterprises, which is our responsibility. How do we then organize them and provide them an enabling environment for them to be able to deliver on their mandate? And therefore, this is the SWIFT program will be able to give us. And I'm happy on the presentation how you will be able to support the teams as it were. As we embark on this transformative journey, it is imperative that we adopt a collaborative approach that brings together government, private sector, civil society, and other stakeholders. And I presume KEPSA, CAM, and all the sectors, KEPRO, are within this space. Only through concerted action can we overcome the complex challenges facing our waste management sector and create a future that is clean, healthy, and sustainable for all. And indeed, our responsibility is to transform from linear economy of how we do things to circular economy. I'm therefore pleased to note that the SWIFT program will support the development of relevant policies and regulations, and that the program aligns closely with our national priorities and commitments, including Kenya's nationally determined contributions to the Paris Agreement and the Sustainable Development Goals. It is especially critical under the planetary crisis. Pollution is one of them that really affects us, and most of the pollution issues that we are facing come from the waste, solid waste or liquid waste as it were. And therefore, we prioritize the protection of our natural resources and ecosystems. Kenya is blessed with an abundant biodiversity and natural beauty, which must be preserved for future generations. And by adopting sustainable waste management practices and investing in nature-based solutions, we can safeguard our environment and ensure a prosperous future for all Kenyans. Ladies and gentlemen, the launch of this program presents a significant opportunity for Kenya to showcase its leadership in sustainable waste management on the global stage. And by pioneering innovative solutions and fostering collaborations between government, private sector, and civil society, we can position Kenya as a regional hub for sustainable development and environmental stewardship. And together, we can demonstrate to the world that a greener future is within our reach. As we move forward, let us remain steadfast in our commitment to collaboration, innovation, and sustainability. Collectively, we can build a future where waste is not a burden, but a valuable resource that contributes to the well-being of our communities and the health of our planet. And indeed, they say waste is wealth, and that is where we should be focusing our energies and our focus. In closing, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to extend my sincere appreciation to all our development partners and stakeholders who have contributed to the development and implementation of the SWIFT program. Your dedication, passion, and expertise have been instrumental in bringing this initiative to fruition, and I look forward to our continued collaboration as we work towards a cleaner, healthier, and more sustainable future for Kenya, and as we exemplify Article 42 of the Constitution. Thank you, and God bless you. And it's now my honor and privilege to declare the Kenya Climate Innovation Center SWIFT program officially launched. Thank you so much. Asanteni, and is that what was supposed to happen? Fine.
Now I want to invite our CEO, DG NEMA, Professor Israel, and a representative from the county, Madam Emily, and to come here to assist us with the official launch. No, they'll do it there. You cut. Yes. Yeah. Patrick, you could also join them. Thank you. In as much as we've created additional waste, at least we have the DG NEMA here, so we'll make sure that you have the responsibility of cleaning it. Yeah. Yeah, so thank you. Then I would want Joseph to just gift 3 of our guests, the PS, the DG, and our representative from IKEA. So we can start with the PS. And those are some of the